أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome everyone to today's class. I hope and pray that you are all doing well. All right, let me just move this forward. Okay, so you've already started looking at this, okay? So rules of Noon Sakin and Tanween, okay? So let's just remind ourselves, when a Noon Sakin or Tanween is observed, some sort of nasal sound is made, okay? And there are rules that tell us what type of nasal sound we need to make, okay? There are certain rules that we need to follow for certain letters to make the correct nasal sound, okay? And you've looked at two types last week. We will look at another today, okay? So when doing this rule, okay, we always need to look at the next letter, so the following letter after a Noon Sakin or a Tanween, okay? Because that tells us what type of nasal sound we need to make, okay? So very important that we look at the letter that is coming after the Noon Sakin or the Tanween, okay? Because that will tell us what type of nasal sound we need to make, okay? So you must always look at the next letter to help us, okay? To decide what type of nasal sound we need to make. Okay, so when we make this, the rule or the name of this rule is Idgham, as you are all aware, okay? And in English, we can call it assimilation, or a simpler word is merging, okay? We can call it merging of letters, okay? And the assimilation rules, the Idgham rules, they tell us how to merge certain sounds, certain letters together when there is a Noon Sakin or Tanween, okay? So you've already looked at some of them, like I mentioned, and a good way to remember the letters where you need to do Idgham or do assimilation is by remembering the word yarmalun, okay? And these are the 6 letters where assimilation will take place, okay? So if you see any of these letters, okay, after Noon Sakin or Tanween, as long as they carry a mushaddad, so they carry a tashdid on top of them, and the letter before is a Noon Sakin or a Tanween, then a nasal sound, assimilation, so the rule of Idgham will take place, okay? So the ones that we will look at today are Ra Mushaddad and Lam Mushaddad, okay? These are the last 2 that we need to learn about, okay? So if you see a Ra Mushaddad or a Lam Mushaddad after a Noon Sakin or a Tanween, there will be, you need to apply the rule of assimilation or Idgham, okay? So merging will take place there. Okay, so let's have a look at an example. So over here, you can see in blue, I've got a Noon Sakin. So I'll look at the letter after the Noon Sakin, it's a Ra Mushaddad, okay? So remember, if it's a Ra Mushaddad or a Lam Mushaddad, I need to apply the rule of Idgham, okay? So you can see this is how it's written. We've got a Mim Sakin with a Mim with a Kasra and a Noon Sakin and then a Ra Mushaddad, okay? So it's written as min ra, okay, with the tashdid, but how we will read it is like this over here. You can see on the left, okay? We will ignore the Noon Sakin and we will join the mim and the ra together. So I would read it as mirra, okay? I will join these 2 words, the mim and the ra, and ignore the Noon Sakin, okay? And that means that there will actually be no nasal sound. Okay, so I will join the mim and the ra and ignore the noon, and that therefore means that there won't be any nasal sound. So I would read it as mirra, and altogether I would read it as mirra bihim. Okay, mirra bihim. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Okay, over here I've got a tanween letter, okay? I've got a dammatain on top of the fa, and then I've got a ra mushaddad, okay? So I remember that if I've got a ra mushaddad and the letter before is a tanween letter, I need to apply the rule of idgham, okay? So as it's written here, I would read it as ra'u fun ra, but that's not the correct way. I know that I need to apply the rule of idgham. So the correct way would be, as you can see over here in the white box on the left, I would imagine that there is on the fa not a dammatain, but there is a simple damma, and then I would join it to the ra mushaddad. So I would read it as furra. I won't say funra, I would say furra. Okay, so altogether I will, and again, because I've changed the tanween to a damma, there is no nasal sound. Okay, so I would read this all together as Ra'ufur Rahim. Okay, Ra'ufur Rahim. Okay, and in this way, no nasal sound is being created in this idgham. Okay, when we apply the rule of idgham. Okay, so to sum up that, so if there is a ra mushaddad, okay, after a nun sakin or a tanween letter, then there is no nasal sound. Okay, very important to remember. If there's a ra mushaddad, then there's no nasal sound. So let's have a look now at the next one. So the next letter is the lam mushaddad. Okay, now again, if there is a nun sakin and then there is a lam mushaddad, okay, as it's written in this green box, there's a alif with a fatha and then a nun sakin and then lam mushaddad. So anla, that's not the correct way. The correct way, because there is a nun sakin and then a lam mushaddad, idgham takes place, okay? And the correct way and how we would read it is, as you can see over here in the white box, is like this. We ignore the nun sakin, okay? And we join the alif with the lam. The rule of idgham will take place here, but there is no nasal sound, okay? And I will read this as Allah, okay? Allah. Okay, let's have a look at the next example. So over here, we've got a tanween letter followed by a lam mushaddad, okay? The alif is blank, so we ignore that. We've got a tanween letter and then a lam mushaddad, okay? So as it's written, we would say this is ron and then la, right? But because there's a tanween and then a lam mushaddad, we know we need to apply the rule of idgham. And how we would actually read it is as in this white box over here, okay? We would change the tanween, the fathatain on top of the ra that you can see in the green box, into a normal fatha and then assimilate with the lam mushaddad. And I would read it as rolla, okay, rolla, okay. I would change the tanween into a fatha and join it with the la, and in that way there is no nasal sound being created, okay. Very important when there is a lam mushaddad that there is no nasal sound, okay. So altogether I would read this as musfarullah. Okay. All right, let's have a look over here. To sum that up, okay, if you've got a ra mushaddad or a lam mushaddad after a nun sakin or a tanween letter, okay, the rule of idgham takes place, but the nasal sound that we create is actually none. There is no nasal sound, okay? The rule of idgham, assimilation does take place, but without any nasal sound, okay? And then just to remind you of the other idgham letters, if you've got a mim mushaddad and a noon mushaddad, there is a full nasal sound, okay? A full idgham takes place, and the nasal sound that's created is a full nasal sound, okay? And then the last two are ya mushaddad and vowel mushaddad, okay? When these two letters, when a ya mushaddad or a vowel mushaddad comes after a nun sakin or a tanween, half a nasal sound is created, okay? Again, idgham takes place, but the nasal sound that's created is half a nasal sound. And finally, the rule that we looked at today is ra mushaddad and the lam mushaddad. When any of these two letters come, and whilst the previous letter is a nun sakin or a tanween, then there is no nasal sound, okay? It's still an idgham letter, okay? The rule of idghams will still apply, but there is no nasal sound, okay?